Hello, and welcome to Entrusted, sharing your talents for the good of the world. I'm Susan Yurkowitz with Harbor Lily Creative, and Harbor Lily Creative is the organization that's bringing you this podcast, Entrusted. And we really are a newborn little channel, so we would really appreciate your help. Help us to grow this channel by subscribing, sharing with people that you feel might find it of value, and that would be your good deed for the day. So thank you for that. So we're going to try something new today. This is going to be the first-ish time that I will be flying solo. I did do that one podcast where I talked about why a podcast about talents. But today I'm on here alone for a couple reasons. One I'll get into a little bit later, but mostly because I found something very hopeful, very moving that I wanted to share with you. So I'd like to just get right into that. So I imagine by now you've heard we have a new pope. It was the former Cardinal Robert Prevost and now Pope Leo XIV. So I came across this quote. Let me get it ready, get it up here on my phone here real quick. That I wanted to share with you because I was very hopeful. When I read it, I was very inspired. I was actually moved by it. And so I wanted to share it with you. So this is a quote from Pope Leo XIV. Brothers and sisters, I speak to you, especially to those who no longer believe, no longer hope, no longer pray, because they think God has left. To those who are fed up with scandals, with misused power, with the silence of a church that sometimes seems more like a palace than a home, I too was angry with God. I too saw good people die, children suffer, grandparents cry without medicine. And yes, there were days when I prayed and only felt an echo. But then I discovered something. God doesn't shout. God whispers. And sometimes he whispers from the mud, from pain, from a grandmother who feeds you without having anything. I don't come to offer you perfect faith. I come to tell you that faith is a walk with stones, puddles, and unexpected hugs. I'm not asking you to believe in everything. I'm asking you not to close the door. Give a chance to the God who waits for you without judgment. I'm just a priest who saw God in the smile of a woman who lost her son, and yet she cooked for others. That changed me. So if you're broken, if you don't believe, if you're tired of the lies, come anyway. Come with your anger, your doubt, your dirty backpack. No one here will ask you for a VIP card because this church, as long as I breathe, will be a home for the homeless and a rest for the weary. God doesn't need soldiers. He needs brothers. And you, yes, you are one of them. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm moved by these words because of the compassion I hear and a desire for all people to come to know God actually as he really is, and not the image that you have of him or even that I have of him, but the image of who God really is. And this is a God who desires to be with his people. And today he's calling out through Pope Leo's voice to you today when you come across this podcast. So I have a playlist here on Harbor Lily Creative that we've started. It's called Conversations with God. Um, this is a playlist that we started out of obedience to what God was asking of me. I had been having conversations with him, and he basically was telling me, I will pour into you and you pour into the world. And that's mostly because he wants to have his words out there. He wants you to know that he wants to be with you. He desires you to know his heart. So as he was speaking to me, often in a time of prayer, he would then be like, pull out a pen and start writing this down. And then the next step was to start sharing it with you. That's what conversations with God is. And why I felt the need to share this quote with you is because there's a lot that God has been saying that's very similar to what the Pope is referring to about coming to him, about being who you are, where you are in life. And that would be what he would like you to do is if you don't know him, then reach out to him. Let him know. Just ask him to reveal himself to you because he is not a God who likes to play hide and seek. He's not in the business of come find me but more about you invite him in and he's there. He's already knocking, actually, waiting for you to invite. I had heard that said one time that our God is not a God who forces. He's a God who invites and he waits for you to respond. He's a gentleman. That's the way that he is. So for those who feel like they can't hear God, know this. He wants you to know that he is present and he wants to be a part of your life. So if you're someone who's listening and you do have that kind of beautiful relationship with God, then the message here is for you to welcome your brothers and sisters. When's the last time that you invited someone to get to know you a little better? Because that's where it starts, right? Is revealing your heart to them. And in doing that, then they will experience the Father's heart. When's the last time you communicated with someone that you don't typically talk to, you don't typically go around, and it's probably because they're on a very different page. Maybe they live very differently than you live, or that you think they should live, or how the Bible recommends that they live. And yet there's all kinds of stories in the Bible that talk about Jesus eating with the people that didn't live as the way that he, thought that they should live, but rather he made himself available to them. He talked with them. He gave them an opportunity to encounter him. And encountering him, they encountered his mercy and his love. And in doing that, they were drawn to spending time with him, learning from him. And that's what he's asking us to do. That's what the Pope is doing. And I find great value in that. I find hope in that. I find inspiration in that. I think it's a tremendous thing to consider doing. So, one quick story that I want to talk about is that within the last year, I had this dream. This is true story. I had this dream that I was walking in this door and I was walking, it was literally like a home that royalty would live in. And as I entered the door and was walking down the hall, I could hear every step echoing. And there was this I was uncomfortable. It was a cold environment, though it was a beautiful environment. It was full of kind of hard textiles. There were marble floors and marble walls and vaulted ceilings, and they were glorious. They were beautiful, and yet it was cold. And I knew that I was approaching a throne, and I knew that I was there to ask. I just kind of sensed this in my dream. I was there to ask God something. And as I was walking, I even felt like the eyes of guards on the side. And then in an instant, I just was in a completely different environment, hearing, wait a minute, that's not who I am. And I went from this sort of palace, if you will, into this cozy room. There was a fire lit in the fireplace and comfy couches with cushions. It was the type of room like you totally want to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just pull up and have a good chat. And it was that experience which let me know a small part of the Father's heart of who he is and how relational he is and how he desires to get to know us and he desires to get to spend time with us. And that is the kind of home that he's offering is that type of cozy atmosphere. And he's not like this distant, far off, come, and worship me. We worship him out of our love for who he is, out of awe and reverence for who he is. And that is because of who he is, and not because he's saying, come and do this. This is what I deserve. That's not God. That's not who he is. And I found that fascinating. My jaw actually dropped when I read that line about the palace versus a home, that that was the quote from the Pope. And here I had had this experience not that long ago. And so it was affirmation for me. And that was just something that I wanted to share with you. So I'd like to close by reading something from Isaiah, because this would be more for us to understand, especially those of us that do have a relationship with God, but maybe don't know how to reach out to other people that that we wouldn't typically communicate with. And those of us who have a relationship with God, we just came through Lent. We're in Easter season now, but there were many of us that fasted, or many of us that fast throughout the year, and we do these things to refine, kind of keep our flesh at bay, and to honor God, right? By allowing our spirit to take the forefront. But in doing this, or excuse me, in reading this, I find this to tie in greatly with the quote that I just read from Pope Leo XIV. So this is Isaiah 58, verse 6. It starts with, and it is called, I love this wording, authentic fasting that leads to blessing. Is this not rather the fast I choose, releasing those bound unjustly, untying the thongs of the yoke, setting free the oppressed, breaking off every yoke? Is it not sharing your bread with the hungry, bringing the afflicted and the homeless into your house, clothing the naked when you see them, and not turning your back on your own flesh? Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly be healed. Your vindication shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, here I am. If you remove the yoke from among you, the accusing finger and malicious speech, if you lavish your food on the hungry and satisfy the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom shall become like midday. Then the Lord will guide you always and satisfy your thirst in parched places, will give strength to your bones. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a flowing spring whose waters never fail. Your people shall rebuild the ancient ruins. The foundations from ages past you shall raise up. Repairer of the breach they shall call you, restorer of ruined dwellings. This is an invitation to help heal. We live in a broken world. We have broken hearts. This is what we're being called to, is to be restored to the relationship that God created us for. He did not create us for this broken relationship in this broken world. This is not the end. This world is not our final home. And not only could you be the one that gives hope, the reason that I'm doing this on the Entrusted podcast is because of the talents that you have been entrusted with. And those talents are being able to speak to other people, being able to welcome other people. Sharing a smile is a talent that not everybody has, although you could develop it. Saying a kind word is a talent. These talents that God entrusted you with, He will want to know what you did with them. Why don't you use them today to invite somebody else to get to know Him, to get to know you? And in getting to know you, hopefully, they encounter our Lord as well. So I am so grateful that you tuned in today. I'm so grateful that you took the time to listen, and that I pray that you will take the time to ask God to reveal Himself to you, regardless of where you are in your relationship with Him. Ask Him to reveal Himself to you as you really are, and then ask Him to reveal yourself as He sees you, not as you see you, because I'm sure we all have a certain image of who we are. But God designed you. He chose purposefully to make you the way that you are. And I ask Him to reveal to you who you truly are. So thank you for joining us here at Entrusted. I do hope that you will subscribe. I do hope that you will share this. Maybe there's people that crossed your mind as you were listening that you thought this would be a good thing for them to listen to. This is a good resource. Never underestimate the power of it for yourself. It's always kind of funny to think of other people when we're listening to something. Take that into your own heart. But if you would share with someone else, you could be the one to give them the hope that they need today. Thank you again, and I look forward to being with you next time.